Hey guys, it's M4J here, and welcome back to M4J-Hatfield Racing here on F1 2021. Now, this week was meant to be, in fact, last week was meant to be the Russian Grand Prix, but obviously, due to current circumstances, I just felt it would not be appropriate to feature the Russian Grand Prix. Therefore, I just completely simulated the weekend. I didn't even race it off camera myself. I basically did the entire weekend as a simulation. I think we came 17th, not that it matters in the grand scheme of things, but also not the worst performance ever, in all honesty. And instead, we are here in Singapore. Now, this is only my second ever time racing in the Singapore Grand Prix. The first time was in F1 2020 last year, and as you'll be able to see throughout this video, the track layout does not agree with me. One of the problems was, at the start, I couldn't remember the track layout at all. I kept expecting the Singapore Sling. I think they removed that in, what was it, 2013 or something like that. And I basically had to relearn how to drive the car. Now, ignore that. That was just, I failed to hit my braking zone. One of the big problems I had... Tom's put some music over this. Thanks, Tom. We'll just sit and listen to this, shall we? Cheers for that, bro. Yeah, basically the problem I had with the car was downshifting. Now, what I wasn't aware of at the time, that I am now aware of, is when you downshift, you lose your engine braking. Or at least you do for that temporary moment where you're downshifting. And my strategy was to hit the corner, start braking, and then just downshift spam until I was in the right gear to pull away in. That's not how you drive an F1 car. It's not how you drive a road car even, never mind an F1 car.
Things didn't really go your way today. Let's have your take. Are you hoping to have your reliability issues sorted out before qualifying? You had a mishap in practice. Will this affect qualifying or race day? Was today a good day for you? What could have gone better? Great. Well, that's everything.
Yeah, that's not how you drive an F1 car, and it's certainly not how you drive a road car. So I had to basically reteach myself towards the end of the race how to actually drive an F1 car. I also didn't downshift into second. The highest gear I stayed in for most of the race was third. You'll see why that was in a minute when the actual race starts. So I was still learning the track at this point. I don't think I'd completed a single decent lap in P2. I think I did one lap on the board, and that was it. Some of my cornering was okay. Some of it, especially again towards the end of the race. Excuse me. I think I actually got fastest lap in this race. Slight spoiler alert, which is insane when you see what happens. But yeah, some of my lines, like this corner here, I was getting closer and closer to that wall on the right hand side every lap, and I felt more and more comfortable with that. This corner, my exit line was terrible. This corner, everything was terrible. That just was not good. I think, is that me getting it right this time? Yes, I believe it is. I think Singapore is a track that I will come to like in the future. My problem with it this time around was just pure lack of experience, having no idea what I was doing, basically. I remembered this bit here with the bridge, and I knew that there was a sharp left-hander straight after it, and I knew that there were two right-handers, sharp right-handers, one after the other, where one of them's a blind corner. So this is the first one here. You get around that one, and then you drive down here as fast as you can. You swing around to the left, and then almost immediately hit the braking zone for this little chicane here. And I say little, it's a big chicane, but it's still a chicane. This bit here under the grandstand as well, that threw me off once or twice. Again, I've said this so many times, but when you're racing, it feels really messy. You feel like your lines are all over the place. You feel like your exit speeds are terrible and you suck at driving and everything like that. Watching this back, I'm actually thinking, you know, hitting some decent apexes here, finding some good racing lines. Didn't do very well in qualifying. Cut that corner there. That wasn't very good. And then just, I don't even know what happened there. I think I accelerated too early and just completely snapped the front wheel off. I don't know if there's a replay or anything, but yeah. I did say last week, or last time, that I wasn't going to use flashback much anymore at all. I did use it a lot still, to be honest, this week and next, because I've pre-recorded next week's race as well. I did use it a fair amount still. I just got really frustrated, but purely because it was my own stupid fault. So you might see me use it. I don't know if Tom actually cut it out or not, but I do use flashback a fair amount in this week's race.
Bad luck out there today. Let's talk about it. Why do you think you weren't as quick as your teammate today? Your qualifying pace didn't put you at the front of the grid. Will this be a problem tomorrow? Great. Well, that's everything.
Against the spectacular backdrop of the Singapore skyline, Formula One returns once again to do battle in what tends to become something of an endurance race, with the notorious sauna-like temperatures in the cockpit making for an extremely physically challenging Grand Prix. We have a high risk of a safety car here today, as the abundance of tight corners mixed with these wet conditions could put a few cars off into the barriers. 23 turns then, 13 to the left and 10 to the right, make up the 3.1-mile lap of Marina Bay. Let's run you through the driver grid order for today's exciting race. Lewis Hamilton lines up on pole position, and it's Valtteri Bottas that completes the front row. Moving on to the rest of the grid, we have Perez, Norris, Charles Leclerc and Sainz, Gasly, Vettel, Fernando Alonso and Max Verstappen. They'll be starting further back after an earlier grid penalty. Stroll, Tsunoda, Esteban Ocon and Raikkonen, Mick Schumacher, Ricciardo, George Russell and Nicholas Latifi, Tigtum, Mazepin, the engineer, and Antonio Giovinazzi starts from the back of the grid. That's it then, it's time to go racing as we head to trackside for today's race.
So yes, as if things couldn't get any worse. I don't know the layout. I crashed out in qualifying, I crashed out in practice, and now we have a wet race to contend with. And oh boy, this is me being careful, by the way. This is me being cautious off the start line. I'm not trying to break the sound barrier or anything. I was just trying to get off the line with some traction. I think did you see me shift up into third there? I can't remember if it was that time or this time where I shifted up. And look, fourth, and again, just go round. But if you go too slow, you'll get left behind by the AI. The AI are so much better at this than we mere mortals are. And it definitely shows. So here I am again. Very gingerly getting off the line this time. Just about holding it together. I've got Giovinazzi behind me. I don't actually know how he ended up behind me. I'm pretty sure I had a grid penalty for this race as well. For changing something on my car. I can't remember what. I had a collision there. Illegal overtake on Mazepin. Again, not quite sure what happened there. It was a little bit of a blur for me, mainly because I couldn't see anything in front of me at all. This was a nice move until I hit the side of Mazepin there. That was a really nice move to get up into 20th, and then I sent it up the inside here as well of Mazepin, gave him a little dink towards the wall. We won't talk about that, that's fine. And at this point I'm up in 19th, and then this happens. And previously I'd had a couple of spins like that and I used flashback, but I thought, do you know what? This is my punishment. I basically put pedal to the metal way too early coming out of that corner and binned it as a result. You might also see here a couple of other little dings along the way. meant I had to replace the front wing entirely. Fortunately for me, virtual safety car came out. So what are we on now? Lap 6? No, lap 3, according to the screen here. Virtual safety car. I think there might be another virtual safety car coming up. Checking the notes here quickly. But this is kind of lucky, because the rest of the grid are being slowed down as well. Obviously, I'm going way slower than they will be. You look at the delta and you can see just how far off I am from what I'm supposed to be doing. But this was a perfect opportunity to come in and pit. So, managing to nail the line there. I think it was in practice. Might have been in qualifying, where I came into the pit and just smacked straight on into the wall there. Didn't DNF or anything because of it, but it was just really embarrassing. Pit entries are not my forte, definitely, and I think it shows more and more each week. But here we are then, pitting now for fresh tyres. We get put back on wets, which is absolutely fine. 7.9 second pit stop. It's not the best, it's also not the worst. I am stone dead last right now though, 50 odd seconds behind Giovinazzi in 21st. This feels like Canada all over again, basically. Feels like the Canadian Grand Prix, really struggling for grip. Just everything going wrong. How I didn't get any damage there, I do not know. But there's the damage. And again, I think a flashback might have been used here, possibly. Maybe not, in fact. Another virtual safety car, and then a full safety car. Full fat safety car, as we say. Deployed. Catch safety car queue. Now this, again, a bit of a blessing in disguise, because I was considering just DNFing from this race. If I crashed and lost a wheel, instead of using flashback, I would just DNF. Fortunately, though, I managed to come in, pit for new tyres, so my inter's now not wet. Had the wing changed again. Managed to shave 1.3 seconds off my pit stop. And at this point, I thought, okay, some stuff is about to happen. I was allowed to unlap myself from the safety car. I actually had first place right behind me, and some cars pitted around me, which meant I was the first car behind the safety car. Was allowed to unlap myself. Thought I would have a lap to sort of unlap myself and catch up to the queue again. Never actually saw the queue before it was a go again. So, green flag, off we go. And I don't know whether it was just I finally got to grips with the track. I finally knew which way the corners went. Raikkonen DNF'd here as well, by the way, so you'll see us overtake him shortly. But yeah, I don't know whether I just finally got to know what the track was, or whether the tyres just suddenly kicked in properly. There's me overtaking Raikkonen. But out of nowhere, I just suddenly started finding grip and was able to nail corners. And again, when you're driving it, you're thinking, oh, this isn't very good. But then when you watch it back, like I am now, I got some really good racing lines through some of these corners. I'm very, very impressed with myself. And, you know, this first season, the car's crap. I'm crap. I'm still learning how to drive on a wheel, because I changed to a wheel halfway through this season, don't forget. In fact, it was the Canadian Grand Prix, the last washout. You know, my skill level is still very, very low, all things considered. I've also been playing Grid Legends recently, which came out last week. I got a preview build as part of the day job, which I'm very fortunate for. And in that game, you're just basically encouraged to ram everyone out of your way. And then you go to this, and you've got to behave yourself again. And let's be clear, I wasn't ramming drivers out of the way around the first few corners. That was purely accidental. But to go from a game like Grid to F1, which is, I mean, let's be honest, this is a lot more realistic than Grid. It is a bit of a steep learning curve again. But if you look at my Delta, purple first sector, so far just nailing every single corner. I'm really proud of myself watching this lap back, actually. A little bit tight here, I think. I had to slow down a little too much. I don't know what the expected speed is around there, but it looked like I was in the 40s, which is a little low. Purple second sector. Again, really happy about that. Technically, I was the first car to kind of come round. Cars behind me had pitted to switch to inters. I just followed what they were doing. But I was the first car to cut a line through the wet track at this point, because the rest of the grid are technically technically they're in front of me, but they're also behind me, if you know what I mean. They're close to lapping me. But this is, I'm loving this. That was a bit wide there, which did compromise my line through the penultimate corner there. This is a really good lap. If it wasn't for the fact that I went a little bit wide here and lost the back end as I rejoined, I think that would have been purple third sector as well. But that is the fastest lap of the race. It doesn't come up on the side, but that was the fastest lap of the race, which is just incredible. This here, that was awful. Raikkonen's gone at this point, as you can see. I don't know whether it was mechanical failure. I can't actually remember what the reason was for him retiring from the race. But I genuinely, after I set that fastest lap, I thought there was another one incoming, and unfortunately there wasn't. So even there going wide. DRS was enabled just in time for me to cross the finish line. Why the game decided to do that, I do not know. But yeah, crossed the line. Dead last, but won. Raikkonen technically finished behind me. Could have been a better race. It could have been worse. Let's go to the summary and then I'll talk to you more again after.
What a great race it's been then. Another classic Singapore Grand Prix, and they've held on to take the checkered flag here today. And talk to me. What do you think it was that sealed the win for them?
Well, they played the safety car to absolute perfection. There are so many factors to worry about once the race is neutralised. I mean, do you hit the fresh rubber? Do you have the space behind you? How much fuel can you save? If you answer all of those questions correctly, you'll have a good chance. And that's exactly what happened today.
And I can see the drivers starting to approach the podium for the victory celebrations. A real team victory today. Everybody played their part. Congratulations then to Mercedes, your race winners today. That lead at the top of the table has shrunk somewhat today. Now, let's discuss, Ant. Who would you say is a contender for driver of the day?
Nicholas Latifi gets my vote today.
Let's move on to the constructors. It was a tough race for our championship leaders who lose ground at the top of the table. Meanwhile, Alpine move up the table with another strong performance this weekend. Well, that was certainly an incredible weekend of racing. Be sure to join myself and Ant for more exciting Formula One action soon.
So again, just quickly before Claire attacks me with the camera again, I was really happy with this race, believe it or not. The fact that I was able to complete the actual race. Yes, I used flashback a lot and my lines were a bit untidy, but watching the replay back just now, I was really happy with how I nailed some of these corners. Really, really happy.
Bad luck today. That must be incredibly disappointing. It wasn't the cleanest race today, was it? How do you feel the weather affected the outcome today? You lost to your teammate today. Was it just not your day? Great. Well, that's everything.
So here's the race highlights. We're going to get a different perspective now on the race as a whole. I mean, yeah. So what I was going to say was a learning curve for me. The biggest thing I've learned from this race is I need to practice driving in the wet, for sure. Especially race starts. Oh, I see why I got the illegal overtake on Mazepin now. I didn't even notice I'd sideswiped him. I thought that was just the car losing control in the wet, but nope. Absolutely swiped him. But I actually got some pretty decent overtakes further on in the race. In fact, you'll see a couple in a second. Giovinazzi and Tictum managed to get past them. The overtake on Mazepin, where I just dinked him towards the wall, that was pretty good as well. And as I said, those clean lines towards the end of the race, when I was on the Inters, I was really happy with that. And looking back at it, I'm even more happy with that. I did some really good racing. It just was a little too late, unfortunately. And the other thing I need to learn is how to drive in traffic. Because right now, this isn't just an F1 problem, by the way. This is Grid, Forza, Assetto Corsa, you name it. As soon as a car becomes a rival, like side by side, I just completely forget how to race. And it's a little embarrassing. That was nice, though. That was just elbows out. That was good racing. Is this the part where I spun or crashed or something? I think it shows one of the crashes that I had. Oh, yeah, there's... hit the wall. Not my best. But yeah, I can't complain about the race as a whole. I think I did a really good job myself. Obviously, we didn't score any points. Dan didn't score any points either. That was awful. But you can always tell when it starts to click for me during a race. I think Tom does a good job of showing this in the highlights as well. So you see my calamities at the start, whether it's practice, qualifying, or the first few laps of the race. But then you see that moment where it all starts to come together for me and I do start putting in consistent laps. You might see something similar next week. I can't remember off the top of my head exactly what happened in that race. I will rewatch the footage beforehand. But overall, I can't complain too much. I really, really can't. I'm still learning. It's still Season 1. We got the new regs coming in for Season 2, so the car development has stopped for now whilst I'm waiting to see what is and isn't allowed next year. And then we'll start pushing on that side of things again. But yeah, that pretty much does it for this race, guys. I'm going to try and round this up before the highlights finish, so I don't have to slow down the footage like I normally do. Thank you very much for watching. Don't forget to hit the like button if you enjoyed the video, and of course enjoyed the series so far. Drop those comments down below, let me know how to improve everything. Besides all that, if you haven't already subscribed to the channel, be sure to hit the subscribe button. If you have already subscribed to the channel, thank you guys for your continued support. I failed in my objective, I'm going to have to slow down the footage again. Thanks for watching again, and until next time, I will see you soon.